Let me start with a simple question. How many times have you made a New Year's resolution? Go ahead, pause for a moment in your mind and think. How many times did you actually stick with it beyond the first few weeks? Be honest with yourself. Chances are the number's far lower than you hoped. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most New Year's resolutions fail, and it's not because people are lazy or weak. It's because the system surrounding resolutions is built to make you feel motivated temporarily, only to leave you frustrated, disappointed, and often ashamed. Then the cycle begins again the next year. Think about January. Gyms are overflowing. Memberships spike dramatically. Motivational books fly off the shelves. Apps, planners, supplements, they all thrive on one basic human hope. This year, things will finally change. We see friends and influencers sharing their goals online, posting declarations of a new me, and it feels contagious. Inspiration spreads. It feels like the world itself is urging you forward. Yet most of these promises quietly vanish. By March, those gyms are nearly empty. Most books remain unread. Apps are deleted. Planners sit untouched. And it isn't because people are incapable or lazy. It's because we've been trained to wait for a specific moment on the calendar rather than realizing that change is not bound by time. True transformation occurs when you decide deep within yourself that it's time to act. Psychologists describe this as the fresh start effect. New beginnings, whether it's January 1st, a birthday, or even Monday morning, feel like a blank page. They offer the illusion of wiping the slate clean, a chance to become a better version of yourself. Social media amplifies it. Everyone is sharing goals, posting slogans, celebrating New Year, New Me. The pull is strong. It feels inspiring. But here's the subtle reality. While the calendar may inspire action, your habits, unconscious patterns, and identity do not reset with a flip of the date. The brain is wired to resist abrupt change. Real transformation doesn't arrive in bursts of enthusiasm. It's quiet, slow, and deliberate. It grows in moments when nobody is watching, when life continues as usual, and yet you still choose to act. There's another layer that most people don't notice. Commercialization. Every ad, every email, every limited time offer from gyms, nutrition companies, or productivity apps is designed to convince you that now is the perfect moment to change. Companies profit from hope. They make it feel like opportunity is tied to a date rather than a conscious decision. While you wait for January 1st, Monday, or the start of the month, life goes on, and your old patterns remain firmly in place. We make promises to ourselves with the best intentions. I will exercise more. I will eat healthier. I will save money. I will declutter my life. I will learn a new skill. At first, the energy feels real. You can almost visualize success. But a few weeks in, reality steps in. Work, stress, obligations, and distractions fill your life. Motivation fades. The promises that once felt inspiring begin to feel like judgment, a reminder that you've somehow failed. Here's the key insight. The problem isn't ambition. It's the assumption that motivation alone can carry change forward. Motivation is fleeting. It spikes like fireworks and then disappears, leaving you in the dark. True transformation is quieter, slower, and far more deliberate. It doesn't happen in bursts of inspiration. It grows in small, intentional moments, especially when the world continues in comfort and indulgence. And yet you choose to act anyway. Your unconscious mind resists change that doesn't match your identity. If you don't see yourself as the type of person who exercises daily, who eats mindfully, or who practices a skill regularly, your deeper mind will resist. This resistance is natural, protective. It's part of how we are wired. That's why the comfort of a socially sanctioned start date feels appealing. It allows your brain to delay change while maintaining familiar routines. But here's the truth. Real change doesn't wait for comfort. It doesn't wait for society, trends, or tradition. It begins in moments of deliberate choice, waking up while others sleep, stepping into a gym while others relax, sitting down to study instead of scrolling your phone. These moments, though small, compound. They build identity. They create transformation that endures. And unlike motivation, they are resilient. Most people don't notice how subtle the trap is. We think change must be dramatic, sudden, perfectly timed. So we wait for the calendar to tell us when it's okay to start. January 1st, Monday, the first of the month. We cling to these markers as if they contain magic. In doing so, we hand our agency over to time itself instead of taking responsibility for the moment we are already in. Meanwhile, the world quietly profits from our hope. Gyms advertise special deals. Influencers post transformation stories that seem attainable, but rarely show the years of quiet work behind them. Apps promise structure, planners promise control, but structure without internal commitment is fragile. Motivational books sell by the millions, feeding the illusion that reading about change is the same as making change. And yet, despite all the hype, real transformation rarely happens at the same pace. Change is inconvenient. It asks you to act when the rest of the world is resting or celebrating. It asks you to choose discomfort over comfort, discipline over indulgence. This is why small, consistent actions matter far more than grand resolutions. Waking up early, practicing a skill, resisting unnecessary purchases, organizing one corner of your life at a time, these seemingly small actions are the real drivers of transformation. If you're finding this useful so far, pause for a moment and like this video, and consider subscribing for more insights into psychology and personal growth. I'd love to hear in the comments, what's one small action you've been putting off that you could start today? Your reflection might inspire someone else. If you're still with me, take a moment and reflect. Every time you've tried to change, did you notice how hard it is to sustain action beyond the first burst of motivation? That's not a coincidence. Motivation alone is rarely enough because it's temporary. What really drives change is identity. Think about it this way. When you act in a way that aligns with how you see yourself, change is easy. But when your actions conflict with your self-image, resistance naturally arises. For example, if you don't consider yourself someone who exercises, telling yourself to go to the gym each day triggers an internal battle. Your brain pushes back, protecting the familiar patterns it knows. That's why real change requires identity-based action. It's not about the number of hours you spend at the gym or how many pages you read. It's about gradually reshaping your self-image through repeated, consistent behavior. Every small action you take reinforces a new identity, slowly retraining the unconscious mind. Let's break this down with a real-life example. Imagine two people who both decide to start running. Person A focuses on motivation. I need to run 5 miles today. Person B focuses on identity. I am a runner and runners run, even if it's just a little. Person A will likely burn out quickly because the goal feels external and forced. Person B, however, integrates the action into their identity. Even when motivation dips, the habit persists. This is the hidden power of small, deliberate choices. They're invisible to others, often uncelebrated, yet they accumulate into meaningful transformation. Waking up early, writing one page, preparing a healthy meal, taking a short walk. These moments, repeated consistently, reinforce identity. Here's another critical insight. Habits are not just behaviors. They are signals to your brain. Each time you act consistently, you are sending a message. This is who I am. This is who I choose to become. Over time, the nervous system begins to rewire itself, and these actions start to feel natural. Motivation is no longer required because the habit has become part of your identity. Now let's talk about the role of environment. Your surroundings influence your behavior more than most people realize. If your environment constantly cues distractions or reinforces old habits, change becomes exponentially harder. Conversely, when you structure your environment to support the actions you want to take, transformation becomes smoother. This could mean setting up a dedicated workspace, keeping healthy food visible, or removing apps that distract you. Small adjustments compound over time, just like repeated habits. At this point, you might be wondering, how do I start building these identity-based habits without waiting for a perfect moment? The answer is deceptively simple. Start now with small, manageable steps. It doesn't have to be perfect. Consistency outweighs intensity. Even 5 to 10 minutes a day, if repeated reliably, begins the process of identity transformation. Here's a psychological insight to keep in mind. The brain resists abrupt changes because it perceives them as threats. Sudden, dramatic shifts in behavior often fail because they clash with established neural pathways. Gradual, incremental change, on the other hand, allows the unconscious mind to adjust, creating lasting neural rewiring. This is why the all-or-nothing approach to resolutions almost always fails. Another factor often overlooked is self-compassion. When we fail to maintain a resolution, the typical response is shame or guilt. This negative self-talk actually reinforces old habits. Instead, approaching setbacks with understanding and curiosity allows the mind to stay flexible. Reflect. What can I adjust? What small step can I take next? This mindset keeps momentum alive even when perfection is impossible. Let's pause for a moment and think about real-world examples of persistence over perfection. Successful people rarely succeed through dramatic, overnight transformations. Instead, they achieve lasting results through countless small actions done consistently over time. Consider a musician who practices 20 minutes a day, a writer who writes one paragraph daily, or an entrepreneur who dedicates an hour each morning to skill building. Over months and years, these small, deliberate actions compound into massive transformation. Here's another insight from psychology. Delayed gratification is key. The brain naturally seeks immediate rewards, which is why we struggle with habits like diet, exercise, or saving money. Training yourself to act despite the lack of instant rewards strengthens discipline and rewires the unconscious mind to value long-term outcomes. Each small success reinforces identity and strengthens internal motivation, eventually making the desired behavior automatic. At this point, it's worth asking, how many moments have you let slip by while waiting for the perfect start? How often have you postponed action until the calendar aligned or conditions felt ideal? Reflect on this carefully. Real change lives not in the perfect moment, but in the ordinary moments you choose to act. If you're finding this discussion valuable, take a moment now to like this video and consider subscribing for more insights on personal growth and mental mastery. Also, leave a comment below. What's one small habit you've been avoiding that you can start today? Sharing it might motivate someone else to take action. Patience plays a crucial role in making lasting changes to your identity. Transformation is rarely linear. Expect setbacks. Expect moments of doubt. Expect periods when motivation dips. The key is to persist quietly. Each time you return to deliberate action, you are reinforcing identity and rewiring your habits, making long-term change inevitable. Remember, the calendar does not dictate transformation. Your identity does. And every small intentional action you take, no matter how invisible it seems, is a vote for the person you are becoming. By now, you've reflected on how identity shapes action and why small, deliberate habits matter more than motivation spikes. But there's another layer to lasting transformation that we often overlook: society and commercialization. Let's start with society. Social pressure is subtle yet powerful. Everywhere you look, people are performing their New Year, New Me routines. Social media posts show people running marathons, cooking perfectly balanced meals, or organizing their lives down to the last detail. It's easy to feel inspired, but also easy to feel inadequate. You might think, why can't I do that too? Or I'm failing because I haven't started yet. The truth is, this pressure is often misleading. Many of these public displays highlight the end result, not the years of unseen effort behind it. Transformation is rarely glamorous. It doesn't happen in neatly packaged, shareable moments. Real change is invisible at first. It is practiced in quiet, private moments, far from the spotlight of social media. Now add commercialization into the mix. Every January, businesses capitalize on hope. Gyms advertise special deals. Nutrition companies push supplements. Apps promise structure. Planners sell the idea of organized success. Motivational books flood the market. These products and services thrive on the illusion that motivation alone is enough to transform your life. And while they can provide helpful tools, relying solely on external prompts is fragile. Real, lasting change is internal. It starts with you, not a product, an app, or a calendar date. So how do we navigate this subtle trap? The first step is awareness. Recognize that society and commercial messages are designed to make you feel like transformation must wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't. True power comes from acting in ordinary moments when no one else is watching. A quiet Tuesday morning, a random Wednesday evening, a late night when others are resting. These are the moments where transformation lives. Here's where small decisions compound into profound change. Think of life as a long-term investment. Each deliberate choice is like depositing into a personal bank of identity and habit. Some days the deposit is large. Some days it's just a single dollar, a single action, one sentence written, one page read, one healthy meal prepared. Over months and years, these small deposits accumulate. Eventually, they compound into the life you imagine. Not because of motivation, not because of timing, but because of consistent, deliberate action. Let's illustrate with an example. Imagine someone trying to eat healthier. They don't start with a perfect meal plan or a month-long detox. Instead, they make one conscious choice, a healthy breakfast instead of cereal with sugar. The next day, another small choice, a walk after lunch instead of scrolling on the phone. Then another small action, preparing a home-cooked dinner instead of ordering takeout. Individually, these actions may seem trivial, but over weeks and months they compound. The identity shifts from I try to eat healthy to I am someone who makes mindful choices. This is the psychology of compounding habits. Tiny actions repeated consistently become powerful forces over time. And the beautiful part? They don't require motivation. They don't require perfect timing. They don't rely on social pressure or hype. They rely solely on your choices, quietly and deliberately executed. Another critical point, change is uncomfortable. Our brains resist it because old patterns are familiar. Comfort feels safe. Discomfort feels threatening. But transformation thrives in discomfort. It grows when you do what feels inconvenient, when you choose the long-term benefit over the immediate ease. These are the moments that actually sculpt character, strengthen identity, and rewire habits. Here's a practical reflection. Think about one area of your life where you've been waiting for the right time to act. Maybe it's fitness, learning a new skill, decluttering, or saving money. Now ask yourself, what small, manageable action could you take today, right now? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Just one deliberate step forward. That's the beginning of transformation. Let's also address a common misconception. People think willpower alone drives change. The reality is willpower is finite. It's easily depleted under stress or distraction. That's why relying solely on motivation or force of will almost always fails. Instead, focus on creating systems and identity-based habits. Set yourself up so the environment, the cues, and your self-image naturally guide your behavior. Willpower becomes the backup, not the main engine. Small, consistent actions also train the mind to tolerate discomfort. Each time you choose the harder, more meaningful option over immediate pleasure, you send a signal to your brain. I am capable. I am disciplined. I make deliberate choices. Over time, this rewires your unconscious mind to favor growth, resilience, and self-mastery. Motivation becomes secondary because your identity now drives the behavior. Pause for a moment. Reflect. How many opportunities have you ignored, waiting for social approval, motivation, or the perfect start date? How many times has waiting caused stagnation? The reality is, waiting rarely produces results. Acting in ordinary, unseen moments builds long-term momentum and resilience, the kind of momentum that can't be bought or borrowed. Before moving on, here's a subtle tip. Use reflective questions as a tool for engagement. Ask yourself daily, what small action can I take today that aligns with who I want to become? These questions focus attention on choice, identity, and action, rather than external pressures or arbitrary deadlines. If you've been following along, take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Share in the comments one small action you will take today to start shifting your identity. It could be as simple as reading for 10 minutes, walking after dinner, or writing down your intentions. Sharing your step can inspire someone else to start too. We've explored the traps of social pressure, commercialization, in the importance of small, deliberate choices. But even with awareness, there's another challenge you face every single day: internal resistance. Internal resistance is that voice inside your head that says, not today, maybe tomorrow. You've done enough. It's subtle, sneaky, and incredibly persuasive. Your unconscious mind loves familiarity. Change feels threatening. Old habits are safe. Motivation spikes temporarily, but resistance waits patiently to pull you back into comfort. Understanding this resistance is the first step to overcoming it. It's not a flaw in your character. It's your brain's natural protective mechanism. Evolutionarily, it kept humans alive. Routine behaviors, predictable patterns, and avoidance of discomfort were survival tools. Today, that same mechanism can block growth, even when the risks are low and the potential benefits are high. So how do you overcome it? One approach is reframing discomfort as growth. When you feel resistance, recognize that it's a signal your brain is being rewired. Each moment of choosing action over comfort is literally restructuring neural pathways. Every time you persist, the brain learns. This behavior is safe, this effort is meaningful, and this action aligns with your identity. Over time, resistance diminishes, not because it disappears, but because your identity now guides your choices naturally. Let's use a practical example. Imagine you're trying to meditate every morning. On day one, your mind protests. Too tired, too busy, just skip today. But you choose to sit for 5 minutes anyway. You do it again the next day. Slowly, the unconscious mind accepts this new behavior. After weeks, the act of meditating becomes part of who you are, not just something you do when motivated. Resistance hasn't vanished. It has been overridden by consistent identity-based action. This brings us to rewiring habits for long-term success. Neuroscience shows that small, consistent actions shape the brain far more than large, infrequent efforts. It's the principle of compounding. Tiny, intentional behaviors, repeated daily, accumulate into lasting transformation. Motivation is unreliable. Systems and identity are sustainable. Here's a key insight: celebrating small wins matters. Every deliberate action is a vote for the identity you want to embody. Each time you resist temptation, take a constructive action, or follow through with a commitment, even a minor one, you are strengthening neural pathways that support long-term change. This is why habits done quietly, consistently, and in private often outperform dramatic public resolutions. Another critical strategy is environmental alignment. Your surroundings can either reinforce old patterns or support new habits. Remove cues that trigger procrastination or indulgence. Surround yourself with reminders of who you want to be. For instance, keep your running shoes by the door, books visible on your desk, or healthy snacks within reach. Subtle environmental nudges reduce resistance and make positive action almost automatic. Internal resistance also interacts with stress and emotion. During high-stress moments, your brain defaults to familiar patterns. That's why it's essential to pair habit building with emotional awareness. Notice when you feel resistance or temptation, but don't judge yourself. Reflect: why am I resisting? What am I prioritizing? Emotional awareness allows you to respond deliberately rather than react unconsciously. Let's pause for reflection. How often do you let internal resistance dictate your actions? How many potential growth moments are lost because comfort feels safer? Recognizing these moments is the first step toward mastery. Another powerful insight is the compounding effect of consistency under adversity. Life is unpredictable. Motivation will fluctuate. Energy will dip. External circumstances will create obstacles. The people who succeed quietly embrace consistency despite these fluctuations. They act even when it's inconvenient. They persist when nobody is watching. They choose the long-term outcome over immediate comfort. This is where resilience is forged. Small, consistent actions also cultivate self-trust. Each time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how minor, you tell yourself, I can rely on myself. I can act deliberately. I am capable. Self-trust is one of the most powerful foundations for lasting transformation. Without it, even the best plans are fragile. Here's another practical method to rewire habits. Start with micro-actions. If a task feels daunting, break it down into the smallest possible step. Want to start exercising? Put on your workout clothes. Want to write? Open a blank document and type one sentence. Micro actions bypass resistance, trigger momentum, and gradually reinforce identity. Consistency is key. Repetition doesn't make action boring, it makes it automatic. Over time, the brain stops resisting and begins anticipating the action as part of normal routine. Motivation becomes secondary. Habit and identity carry the weight. Finally, remember this. Transformation is invisible at first. Nobody sees the moments you choose action over comfort. Nobody witnesses the quiet decisions that slowly reshape your identity. And yet, these moments accumulate silently into undeniable change. This is why lasting growth rarely aligns with social hype, trends, or a calendar. It lives in the choices you make daily, quietly, deliberately, persistently. By now, we've explored the psychology behind New Year's resolutions, the power of identity-based habits, societal and commercial pressures, internal resistance, and the compounding effect of small, consistent actions. Now let's tie everything together and discuss how to integrate these principles into your daily life for lasting transformation. The first key takeaway is this. Waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. Transformation does not live in the calendar, the hype of social media, or the promise of a fresh start. It lives in the ordinary, often overlooked moments where you make deliberate choices. A quiet morning, a late night, a short pause in your day, these are the opportunities that truly shape your identity. To act effectively, focus on micro actions that align with the person you want to become. Don't wait to overhaul your entire life at once. Instead, commit to small, deliberate steps. Read a single page of a book every morning. Prepare a single healthy meal. Take a short walk instead of scrolling on your phone. Write one sentence in a journal or project each day. Each of these actions seems insignificant on its own, but as we've discussed, they compound over time, silently reshaping identity, strengthening habits, and rewiring the brain for long-term success. Next, embrace discomfort as part of growth. Your brain naturally seeks comfort and familiarity, which is why resistance shows up. But growth occurs precisely when you act despite discomfort. The small, difficult actions you take when nobody is watching, choosing discipline over indulgence, focus over distraction, these are the moments where transformation truly takes root. Consistency is critical. Transformation is rarely linear. There will be days when motivation dips, days when resistance feels overwhelming, days when life throws unexpected obstacles. The key is to persist quietly, return to deliberate action, even in small ways. Each repetition reinforces identity and strengthens self-trust. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes automatic. Let's revisit the role of self-trust. Every time you follow through, you reinforce a powerful internal message. I am capable. I can act deliberately. I can grow. Self-trust is the foundation of lasting transformation. Without it, even the best plans crumble under stress or distraction. With it, momentum builds naturally, carrying you through challenges and setbacks. Another important principle is environmental alignment. Surround yourself with cues that reinforce the behaviors you want to cultivate. Remove distractions, place reminders of your intentions in visible places, and structure your environment to support your identity-based actions. Small adjustments here can dramatically reduce resistance and make positive behaviors effortless. Now let's address the illusion of dramatic transformation. Many people believe that lasting change requires large, heroic gestures or perfect conditions. In reality, transformation is invisible at first. It happens in the quiet, private moments, the tiny choices that go unnoticed by others. The power of identity-based change is that it compounds over time. One deliberate action today becomes the foundation for the next, which builds into habits which ultimately define who you are. It's also critical to recognize society and commercialization for what they are. Gyms, apps, planners, and social media feeds often profit from the illusion that motivation and timing alone are enough. While these tools can be helpful, real transformation is internal, not external. It is created by deliberate choice, consistency, and identity-driven action, not by following a calendar, trend, or external expectation. So how do you integrate all of this into your life? Start by reflecting on one small, deliberate action you can take today, right now. Don't wait for Monday, January 1st, or any socially approved perfect moment. Ask yourself, what step aligns with the person I want to become? Then take that step immediately. Over time, these small actions compound. They reshape your habits, reinforce your identity, and gradually transform your life in ways no motivational book, app, or social media post ever could. The calendar is irrelevant. The hype is irrelevant. What matters is your choice in the ordinary moments, repeated consistently over time. Before we conclude, here's a final reflection. Transformation is quiet, invisible, and deeply personal. It doesn't require dramatic gestures or public approval. It requires courage, persistence, and the willingness to act even when it's inconvenient. The victories that matter most are often unseen, yet they accumulate into profound, undeniable change. Now here's your action step. Take a deep breath and identify one deliberate action you will take today to move closer to the person you want to become. Write it down, commit to it, and follow through. That is your real resolution. That is where your power lies. If this video has helped you reflect on your approach to growth and transformation, do me a favor. Like this video, comment below with the one small action you're committing to today, and subscribe for more insights on psychology, personal development, and mental mastery. Sharing your step might inspire someone else to start as well. Remember, the calendar does not create transformation. Motivation alone does not sustain it. Real change is quiet, deliberate, and built in the ordinary moments. By choosing action today, you are shaping your identity, rewiring your habits, and quietly creating a life of lasting growth. The moment for transformation is not tomorrow, not Monday, not January 1st. It is always now. Take that moment, act, persist, and watch as the life you imagine gradually, powerfully becomes your reality.